Hi everyone. So I promised you I'd make a video on using the KSResin that I bought off of their website. I put the link in the description in the comments below on where to order, and don't forget to use the coupon code. It's MAR20, and I'll put that in the comments as well so you can get your 5% off for your purchase. Now, I haven't used this before, so I only got this small 4-ounce bottles. I think it's considered 8 ounce on there, 2 4-ounce bottles. It's the same as the normal resin, where it's a 2-part resin. There's resin and the hardener. Also, when I resin, I have my sanitizer, because this helps clean the resin off your hands, or your gloves I should say, and it helps clean it off of your measuring spoons in here. Everything I have on here is what I'm going to use today. I use the wax paper, parchment paper. I prefer over wax paper because it doesn't stick as bad. Where I've used just wax paper, but the wax paper are stuck to these, and so I don't like that. So I use parchment paper. Also, I have my gloves. I have some paper towels, and I have my torch. I have a stirring stick, which I just throw away afterwards. I'm gonna put some glitter in my resin, so it's gonna be suspended in the resin, and then I have my measuring containers, which I'm only gonna do 2 small rocks that I'm going to resin, are the 2 princesses. Let me turn them your direction. So I'm gonna resin these 2. I do spray them before I resin with a light coat of matte sealing spray, Krylon I believe it is, but it's just the matte finish because I don't want it to be like, I don't know if it'll be too glossy or not, so I just use the matte. And then one of my cups. So I have everything out. I'm gonna put my gloves on. Sorry for my voice, I'm losing it. It's super late, and I'm not normally up this super late, but I got stuck on a show, and I already had everything up here to do my video, so I gotta do it. So anyhow, I'm gonna put these 2 pieces over here. What I also have is a container. Since I'm doing 2 smaller pieces, I just grab this container to cover them up with when I'm done, and it fits them perfectly over the 2. Normally I have a bigger one if I'm doing bigger rocks. So first off, I'm going to use our resin. It said it has low odor, but when I smelled it, it smelled to me pretty strong. Just not like super strong, but just like the regular stuff. I could feel it already that it is thicker. Like I've heard people say, if you look at it, it doesn't come out. It's thicker for sure. So this is my resin. I'm wondering if I'm gonna have to use more, but we will find out. And then I put the lids on right afterwards, because one time I accidentally mixed the 2 on another bottle and they stuck. So, and I still had like that much resin in the bigger bottles, so I had to cut a hole in it. It was terrible. So you live and learn. Here's the hardener. Just gonna scrape that out, and then I'm just gonna set this aside in case I need to use it again. I'm gonna put the lid on the hardener. And keep those right there in case you need to see them. And then I'm just gonna stir it. And yeah, it's definitely thicker. I don't know if you can see, it's more pasty than it is watery. I feel like the art resin is more watery. This one's more pasty. So we'll see, fingers crossed, that I get it right. Yeah, some people stir it for a minute or whatnot, because that's what the bottle says, but it also is for the whole bottle. It's not for smaller portions. So you don't have to stir it for a whole minute. I feel like you're creating more bubbles by doing so. So I only stir it for a little bit until I feel like I have it pretty goodly mixed for the amount that I'm using. And then I also torch it a little bit just to help clear up some of those bubbles. Just make sure you don't over torch it and let it burn. I got a pretty basic household torch. It's nothing fancy, but it works really good for me. You can lock it, but I mean, it doesn't have the adjustable. Oh no, it does. I'm sorry. Right here, it has the where you can adjust the flame. I keep mine all the way on max on this one, because it works really good that way. So, and I want to say it maybe costed like 10 bucks or so, but I can't remember, maybe 10 or 15 bucks. But I've had it for a while, and you can see there's resin all over it. But I do clean it off with the Purell and a paper towel each time, but there's still going to be some residue. As long as it doesn't stick, I'm good. So with that, normally when I use art resin, I let it sit for a little while until it feels like it's pasty, and then I use it. So I'm interested in this one, but even with torching it now, it's warmed it up, so now it's more watery or flowy. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's not as pasty now that I torched it a couple of times. It's kind of weird. I'm gonna sit for a second. Right now is when I would add my glitter. And, you know, I honestly don't even know where I got this glitter, but it's a very fine glitter. And I just love how it looks. And I only use like just the smallest amount in my fingers, being on how much I'm gonna use, and I don't even use all of this. But it's totally up to you on how much glitter you'd want suspended. Since Belle already has hologram glitter on her, I don't want to put too much. And the same with yeah, she has a little bit of hologram glitter, but I feel like Belle's pops out a little bit more. Sometimes I will just resin this part first with regular resin, and then go around, put glitter in it, and then put glitter in my mix, I guess I should say, and then I'll do the suspended glitter resin around this section and get pretty close without getting it all over their face. And I like that look too, because when you try to take photos, if you have a really good camera, like sometimes mine does really well, it gets, but I don't like it because it gets the glitter specks in their face on the photo, and that's not something I really want for the photo, because it looks nice in person, but on the photo it doesn't look as good, if that makes sense. So anyhow, let me stir this glitter in here. Sorry, I'm trying to be as detailed as possible on explaining everything, and sometimes things come to mind on what's worked and hasn't worked for me, so I like to explain that too and see if it'll help you. So it's still pretty liquidy. Like I said, normally it helps me if I wait, but because I'm doing a video, I'm not gonna wait. I'm gonna cross my fingers. That way I don't have too many bubbles. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments of this video, and I will try my best to answer them as good as I can. So I normally don't put them on this paper because I'll get resin on it from the cup, but I am on this one just to show you in the video. And there's no resin right here, so, but all I'm gonna do is using it to put it on here. So I'm just gonna pour a little bit on here. Everybody resins differently, but this is how I do it. So I got a good amount. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a quarter size, I guess, and it's pretty thick. And since these are 3" by 3" rocks, you don't need too much. If you really wanted, you know, you could put 2 coats of resin, let this dry after 3 days or so, and put another coat. The instructions say to it'll be fully cured in 4 days, but it's dry within 24 hours to touch, is what it said. So because I torched it, I feel like it's the same right now as art resin. I don't feel the thickness anymore. So I know some people said it was super thick, but I'm not feeling it now. I felt it when I poured it, you know, mixed it together, but once I torched it a little bit, it loosened it up. I'm just checking the glare to see if I made sure I got all the spots on her. And I didn't miss anything. Sometimes when you are doing squares, the edges don't seem to get it just right. And it always helps to do a second coat if you feel like the edge right here will look funny. Anything that's like basically been cut, because I know the hearts and the circles or anything that's been cut would do the same. All right. So now what I'm going to do is torture. Just a little bit, and then I'm going to check the glare for bubbles. And put her up to the light, it's easier for me. And there's a few in there. That's the other thing with glitter though, when you put it in here, I feel like you're more likely going to get bubbles. Microscopic though, they shouldn't be huge amounts to where I'm putting a lot more resin because I'm going to take some off. But they shouldn't be super amounts where it's going to spoil the art on here. They should be like microscopic pretty much and look like glitter. All right, let's get that off. Let me check. Sorry, I'm just checking to make sure I got all the spots. So I'm gonna torture again. This is when you'll start to see it dripping down because I put a lot. And I like to take off that excess because it helps it from having a bunch underneath your rock. I don't use anything to hold them up. I just make sure I don't put too much resin on them. For when it just looks better to not have a bunch of bumps of resin on the back of it. And I feel like it's just, you know, it's a good piece of art, so you want it to be, not have resin messing it up by having too much of it on the back. So you can always sand it off real quick, and I do that too. Or just be a little bit more delicate with it. So a couple of spots, so I just dipped my finger in, and a couple of spots I scraped off because there was a bubble. And when I scrape them off, I just use my stick. And it's worked pretty good for me. So I'm just gonna torch those 2 spots real quick. I'm just shaking it just to level out the resin. Excess is coming off. I'm gonna check the light again. And yeah, there might be a little microscopic bubble in her hair, which I don't know if you could see it, and it's so tiny, but sometimes it's not worth messing with. It's like right there. Just right there, that little microscopic bubble. There's none in her face. That's the main part I always look at. There's none right there. So it's just basically, I think there's one right there, which also could be a piece of glitter, and then one right there. So what I'll do is I'll leave it alone, and then what I do is after I finish the other one, I come back in about 15 minutes and I do another light torch, and it normally helps it. Yeah, see, that one's gonna bug me, so it got bigger. I love it. Resin, if people only knew how much fun it is. They would understand why sometimes we gotta charge more because we spend too much time making it perfect. All right, so I'm gonna call her good. I'm just making sure I don't have too much resin, anything dripping down the sides. And I'm gonna set her on her little paper. So when you have this, all I do is just put a little squirt. I can still use my glove. Move this. Got my paper towel. Good to go. It's all good. All right. Let's do Belle. Now, let's do before and after, because see how she looks, and even with these tiles, they're kind of bumpy. So you're gonna see how the resin's gonna smooth it out. See the bumpiness right in here, even in her body. So I'm excited. That's why I love resin, is because it smooths it out. You don't see any of that from the rock itself. Oh yeah, I definitely had enough resin with that little spoonful. What was it, a teaspoon of each. Definitely got these. I could have probably done 3 of these rocks. Just smooth it on in there. Just make sure you're smoothing it good. You get a good, get it into all the little grooves in the rock itself. Because that's the important part. You want to get every little spot. And when I'm doing this, I'm not pushing hard. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm just gently smoothing it around. And then what's going to happen when I torch it, it'll level it out. And so, you know, if you don't have a lot of resin like down here, but you got a lot up there, you can level it out. It'll make it more runny, I guess, and you'll be able to see it. So let's do a quick torch. And then we're gonna check for air bubbles. Now, like I said, this has, I've heard people say it's a little thicker, and it is thicker, but once you torch it, it's just like art resin. So I was scared at first it wasn't gonna be enough, but it's clearly enough. There's some spots up here that I missed. I'm just gonna put a little bit of resin on. Today might not even be that good of a day for me to do resin with me losing my voice. Just checking. I'm sorry, I'm not talking. I'm just checking. See if I don't see any bubbles in this one, so I'm pretty stoked. Like I said, I feel like when you let it sit for a little bit, for a good, sometimes depending on how much I'm putting in here, I'll go from 10 to 20 minutes after I mix it and torch it real quick. Then I'll let it sit and go paint for a little bit, and then come back and do my rocks. check her out. She has a couple spots, but they're hard to see. But one is on her nose, and I don't want her to look like Rudolph. So we're gonna take that out. Let me see, is there any more? Should have a spotlight down here so you guys can see what I see. Anyhow, I'm gonna add a couple dots, and then there was one. I can't see it from down here. I need the light. Oh, it was right there. One right there. Make sure. Yep. Anyhow, I'm gonna torch it. I do not wear a mask when I resin. I only wear gloves. I know there's a lot at risk. I hear a lot of things. I also don't know if all of those things are just from people resining rocks or if they're resining those tumblers. That has to deal with a lot of resin for a long period of time in your vase. So, yeah. The only time I have issues, make sure you give it a quick torch again after you do that, is when I resin 2 nights in a row. I can feel it in my throat. So I try to avoid that. If I wait a day in between, I'm good, but if I do 2 nights in a row, my throat hurts. Because I do get pretty close up on these to look at them and check for bubbles. And they're messing with me on her right now. Just keeps moving. As long as it's off her face, it doesn't bother me as much. If it's in the background, I'm okay. Look at how much it came on. That was a lot. That would have been all over the bottom of it if I didn't take it off right now. Because it just drips off. No matter how level you have it. If all this fails, I would just re-resin her if I don't like how it's turning out. But I think she's turning out okay. There's just this one piece of glitter. I know it's glitter, but it doesn't look like, it's just messing with me. It looks like it's a dot, a bubble, but it's a piece of glitter. Yeah. So anyhow, this is Belle after she's been resined. And I don't know if you could see, it's very different. It just blends all the colors together and everything. And I love that. I tip it upside down sometimes just to balance out that resin. So I feel like it's all coming towards the bottom. I'm gonna give it a quick go like that to get it to move a little bit towards the top. So levels it out. There we go. All right, so then after that, I'll take these off. And then I got my bowl. I'm gonna move this on. Sorry, my kitchen, it's not the cleanest, but it's pretty clean. I just put it over it and leave it alone, and I was just cleaning my mess after I'm done. I get all this cleaned up, and then like I said, in a little bit I come back and check them and give them a quick torch, and then I'm done. So this, I really like this. I'm gonna see how it turns out tomorrow. I'll post what I'll do is I'll post a picture in the comments and probably make a comment on how I like it. But so far, I like it. I mean, I didn't use too much for them. As you can tell, there's still obviously a lot of these left. It does say they added UV protection and dry to touch in 12 hours. Full cure in only 3 days. You have 45 minutes of working time. So you get to work with it for 45 minutes before it dries up or becomes hard is what it says. It says 0 VOC and low odor. Now, I don't know what VOC is, so I mean, I could probably Google it, but if that's something you're looking for, it's in here. So check it out, give it a try. And like I said, when I'm done, I'll post pictures of the ones I just resin in the comments on this video. And I will also post the link to purchase that, and I will post the coupon code for you to get a 5% discount on your order. Okay, thank you so much, you all. If you have any questions, please comment below. I will try to answer them all for you as best as I can. This is the first time I've used this, so I will do my best. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Keep on rocking.